In today's video, I will be comparing the M1 Mac Mini versus the M1 Max MacBook Pro head-to-head in Final Cut Pro comparisons. So if you're excited, drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and join me along this journey as we figure out if this machine truly is worth triple the price of the M1 Mac Mini. Alright, now full disclosure, while I'm excited to do this test, I'm also petrified to do this test for one very specific reason. These two machines, the M1 Mac Mini and the M1 Max MacBook Pro, are my two favorite Apple products that I have ever purchased next to the iPhone. As far as computers go, they are amazing. I have never heard the fan of either of these machines turn on even once. When I'm editing a video, exporting that video, or working on a Logic project, like nothing has ever even made these things sweat, not at all. But the thing is that these two machines should be so far away from one another as far as performance goes that it shouldn't even be a consideration. Like, this test shouldn't even be happening right now. But I am genuinely so curious because I bought the M1 Mac Mini back in early 2021. The version that I bought is the Mac Mini with the M1 chip, 8-core CPU, 8-core GPU, 16-core neural engine. That's all standard. 16 gigabytes of unified memory, so I did upgrade from the 8 gigabytes, and the 1 terabyte of solid state drive, I did upgrade from the 512. That machine cost me $1,299 before tax. In comparison, my M1 Max MacBook Pro is spec'd out with a 10-core CPU, a 24-core GPU, so I did not go to 32, but I did bump it up from the 16 to the 24, 16-core neural engine, 32 gigabytes of unified memory, and I kept it at a 1 terabyte solid-state drive, all for the whopping price of $3,299 before tax. So we're literally talking about a $2,000 difference between these two machines, a $1,299 machine and a $3,299 machine. Now, there's obvious differences between the two. First and foremost, this comes with a keyboard and a monitor and a mouse. The M1 Mac Mini does not do that. The M1 Mac Mini is just the computer. Now, I have a 27-inch Thunderbolt display that I use that I'm perfectly happy with. I'm also in love with the Apple peripherals. I love using the wireless keyboard. I love using the trackpad as my mouse, so I have no issues there. And when I connect the M1 Max MacBook Pro to this monitor, these are the peripherals that I use. So again, no issues there whatsoever. Now, you are paying for a better monitor here. You are paying for the ProMotion display here with 120 hertz refresh rate that, adjusts between 10 hertz and 120 hertz. Obviously, the Mac Mini is not doing that for you, but you don't necessarily need it because you don't have to worry about saving battery space because you're plugged into the wall the entire time. You can't take this computer to go with you. The M1 Mac Mini, that is. So, with all that being said though, is it still worth $2,000 to get 32 gigabytes of unified memory and 24 cores versus an 8-core GPU and 16 gigs of unified memory? We're gonna find out in this test. I am so freaking nervous. Let's go. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna open up Final Cut Pro. This is my editing program of choice. Now, for this test, a couple of things I wanted to clarify. First and foremost, we're going to be opening up a project that has already been edited. It was actually edited on the M1 Mac Mini. It has footage from a C100, so that's all shot in 1080. Footage from an A7 III, recorded in 4K. And it's got footage from an FS7, recorded in 4K. And also the S1H Panasonic, which is a computer hog, might I add. There's some GoPro stuff in there, some C100 stuff in there. So there are 5 different cameras, 6 including some iPhone shots in here, right? And as you can see, as I'm scrubbing through this, it does struggle a little bit. Some of the other footage, not so much, it does just fine. So as we check out some of the footage here, like if I were to play this back, plays it back just fine. There's no issues there. This is all A7 III footage, right? So no issues at all whatsoever. With the FS7 footage, no issues there, plays it back just fine. Now, let's find the S1H footage. S1H footage, it actually is doing a pretty decent job here. What I am curious about is how long this project is gonna take to export versus how long it's going to take to export on the M1 Max MacBook Pro with 32 gigs of RAM. So I'm going to start a timer here. I'm going to export, settings. We'll do it in H.264, 4K. So the H.264 should slow down a little bit, right? Because it's converting while it's exporting. So we'll take that, we'll put it in the export file here, save. Here we go. Okay, so in 2 minutes and 50 seconds, it took my 3 minute and 58 second music video, exported it all together, simultaneously creating an H.264 version in 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Now I know what you're saying, Amir, all of those clips were already rendered, so it shouldn't have taken forever to export. I will agree with you on that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a brand new timeline here. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a C100 clip, FS7 clip, we'll bring in an A7 III clip. Here we go, here we go. Here's an S1H clip coming up right here. Let's do a GoPro clip. To make this more fun, let's turn off background render. This has motion to it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add stabilization to this clip, and then we'll do some quick color correcting. We have this 1 minute and 17 second clip. Let's see how long it's gonna take for it to render this. I didn't get the exact time, but I think it was under 30 seconds to render 1 minute and 15 seconds with stabilization on the A7 III clip and some color correction on some of the other clips, putting it all together into a 1080 timeline. Pretty nuts that all of that could be rendered in less than 30 seconds. One last test I'm going to do before moving on to the M1 Max MacBook Pro is I'm going to do a stabilization test. I got this clip of my friend AO who plays drums, rocking out with his mask. All right, we'll do exactly 1 minute here, right? All right, right there. My timeline for this, change it to 4K. Let's see how long the stabilization takes. We're at 30% right now. It's taking a little longer than I thought. I'm actually a little surprised here. Okay, 47 seconds. All right, so 45 seconds, 47 seconds to stabilize a 1 minute clip, 4K, A7 III, and a 4K timeline. Not terrible, absolutely not terrible. But now that we got all this data, it is time to move to the M1 Max MacBook Pro. All right, and so now we have moved on to the test that I'm most excited about, but also most scared of. Is this computer worth the $2,000 upgrade? We are about to find out. So here we go. We're gonna click on Final Cut Pro. That is fast. How fast that opens up in comparison to the Mac Mini, how fast it takes to open up this project. That was quick. So let's just scrub through it real quick. Man, whoo! You guys remember what it was like scrubbing through the Mac Mini? This is scrubbing through this project like it's nothing. Look at it's flying through this. So we're going to export, go to settings, H.264. It's exporting. We're off to the races. And I'm letting you know that right now we're at 85%, 87%, 89%, 92%, done. Wow. 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 That's the difference. This music video that took the M1 Mac Mini 2 minutes and 50 seconds to render took the M1 Max MacBook Pro with 24 core and 32 gigs of RAM, 1 minute and 9 seconds. A whole 1 minute and 40 some odd seconds less. So you can imagine if you have multiple videos that you gotta edit for like a class, like an online class that you're doing or that you gotta render out or anything like that, the amount of time that it's gonna take to do that. That was impressive. Now, we're gonna open up this guy and we're gonna take an A7 III clip, FS7 footage, GoPro footage, S1H footage, anything that's moving that I can put stabilizer on. All right, so I'm gonna put stabilizer on this clip here. While that's doing that, I'm gonna do some color correcting here. Just go nuts, whatever, who cares? All that said, 1 minute and 15 seconds total. Let's see how long it's going to take to render all of this in 3, 2, 1. It's flying through it. Absolutely flying through it. 90%. 95% done. In 15 seconds, it rendered 5 clips from 5 different cameras, 5 different codecs, color corrected, stabilized, zooming in, all that kind of stuff. Handled it like a champ. May I remind you, I have not heard a single fan turn on in this machine or the M1 Mac Mini this entire time that we've been doing this. Okay, I want to take this clip, drag it in here, make sure to just get a minute, and let's see how long it'll take to stabilize. And then we're going to time it. So last time it was 47 seconds. Let's see how long this will take. And go. There it is. Wow. Wow. All right, we'll add a second. 30 seconds. 2 very similar clips, both a minute long. One took 30 seconds, one took 47 seconds. That's a huge difference. That's almost a 20-second difference, right? So compounded over time, it's gonna save you a lot of time right there. The magic question is it worth it? From a video editing perspective, is it worth it? Is it worth bumping up to the 32 gigs of RAM? Is it worth the $2,000 extra bump that you need to pay to get this machine versus an M1 Mac Mini? You know, for me, I would say saving the extra minute is nice. I don't know if it's $2,000 nice. And while being able to render that footage as quick as possible and move on to the next thing is fascinating and incredible that it can do all that kind of stuff, these are also tasks that I do and then I just kind of leave my laptop and go do something else. So I always come back not really knowing how long it took for these things to export. So if you're asking me, is it worth a $2,000 bump? I'm kind of in between. I know it's kind of a cop-out, but I would say no, not for me. Not a $2,000 bump. Now, am I impressed? 1,000% I'm impressed. Because again, not a single fan turned on. This thing was quiet, efficient, but the mobility of this and be able to really edit anywhere I want with excellent battery life. And by the way, the battery was never plugged in. This is unplugged testing. A fantastic machine, a machine that I think if you are a hardcore content creator, a video producer, editor, musician, then I think this machine is definitely worth the investment. Again, I bought this machine with the intent of future-proofing so that it would last me 7, 8, 10 years. That is my goal, that is my hope, and I know Apple's gonna come out with some sexier gear, some sexier tech, and stuff that's going to be so much more impressive, but I have to make sure that I don't fall victim to FOMO and just know that what I have works for my needs. Even the M1 Mac Mini worked for what I needed. But in those comparisons, putting the two machines together, it's incredible that $2,000 difference. You can see it, but is it worth $2,000? That's up for debate, and that's really up to you as far as what your use case is. For me, I'm perfectly happy with the additional minute of render time, the additional minute of export time. That doesn't bother me. But if you are someone who's going through videos like it's nothing, you're making like, you know, a handful a day in 4K timelines, or you're creating an online course where you're making like 20 videos at a time or anything like that, then absolutely you're going to save time in the long run with this machine. And it's just the more professional machine. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The screen is a better looking screen than what you would get on the M1 MacBook Air. It's a better screen than you would get on the 13-inch MacBook Pro. It is a better computer. You get all the ports, you get everything that you need in one thing. No need for dongles or anything like that. And the battery life is spectacular. There's no question about any of that. Is it worth the $2,000? Again, that is up for you to decide, but you let me know in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video and you enjoyed this comparison, the bout between the M1 Mac Mini and the M1 Max MacBook Pro, please consider subscribing. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. And also leave a comment below letting me know what you thought of the comparison. What is your go-to machine? And what are you looking for when you make an upgrade like this to an M1 Max MacBook Pro, or what is it that you're trying to get out of your machine, and is it doing it for you? I would love to have that conversation with you. Please let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video, and I will hopefully see you again soon.